NCAA Pick'em Boys 2024 Week 11. This week and 2 more weeks, and we are done with this tournament. If there are some ties, we will settle it in the playoffs. Besides the point, good to be here. Good week for your boy. Very proud of it. But picks are due Saturday, November 9th at 11 a.m. First game is Thursday, November 7th at 7 p.m. Funny enough. So if you got some picks that you want to get in by then, get them in. Let's get into the Week 10 standings. Shout out to myself and Ian for going 4-1 this week, and a few people going 3-2. However, if we're looking at the back nine here, we got a lot of people sitting 2-3, 1-4, and quite a lot of 0-5. Shout out to the Mark and John brothers for going 0-5 together. Man, babe, better luck next time. And the overall standings, we got a new throne, I believe, is Steven, 32-18. Followed right behind the second place, Brandon, 31-19. And Tommy Matthew Zach sitting 30-10. So I think the people at the bottom are pretty much screwed in this tournament now, but there could be a few people in the middle that could catch up if, I don't know, maybe a few people have some bad records, and I don't know. Keep praying. Grab a Bible. All right. Let's go over a couple of games, a few that screwed a lot of people over this past Week 10 on November 2nd on Saturday. We're going to start off with ranked 4 Ohio State at ranked 3 Penn State. Everybody and their mother had Penn State. I can't believe anybody put that on their card, but it was the most picked game this week. Yeah, Ohio State covered that just fine. I made a little money on it, don't tell. Also, we have Navy at Rice. A lot of people had Navy to win this game, and I really wanted them to. However, they got beat by 14, 24-10. Not a good look. And last but not least, the biggest upset of the week, we had ranked 10 A&M at South Carolina. A&M projected to win 2.5 and losing 44-20. This is a classic letdown spot as usual. It's just what we do best as Aggies. So, you know, maybe in the next life. All right. Without further ado, Jerry's not with us because he is at the beach enjoying a vacay, but we will plug in his pick where it need be. But also we got our homeboy Peter, infamous for, yep, that's about it. As usual. Peter, what up, my boy?
Oh, just living a good life, you know. Trump 2024. Thank God. If he voted for Kamala, fuck you.
I gambled on it. Got in early for extra money at the time that he was projected not to win. So it was a hefty payday for your boy. My wife the whole time thought that he wasn't going to win. She was like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it will happen. And I'm very happy to get to prove her wrong and hopefully could save me on taxes. Mm-hmm. Please, desperately. Any thoughts on Week 10?
Yeah, Week 10. Honestly, obviously the biggest thing was A&M losing, but I actually don't think the biggest thing that happened, or the worst thing that happened for A&M wasn't losing; it was losing Moss.
Yeah,
because that just changes A&M. Like, I don't even know who the other running back is, Daniels or whoever his name is. He's fine, but they depend on Moss. So I'm really curious to see what A&M team kind of shows up for the rest of the season, because they're not a bad team. Like, at halftime, you expected A&M to win, and they just collapsed royally.
Yeah, it was very much a letdown spot. I don't know how we gave up hope in the second half. I mean, by a wild margin, too.
It also was I think, a reality check for Reed, where it's like his throwing is still not great, and his decision making, he looked like a freshman. Like
yeah.
he
And
really
I
did.
think that this was a great game to like let him know that like, hey, you ain't all that you think you are
Yeah,
because you're getting beat left and right. So I mean, hopefully he can grow from this, and maybe we could snuggle ourselves into a playoff position if we're
yeah.
lucky.
Like if A&M wins out, they're in because they still win SEC championship.
Yeah,
But it's obviously a lot tougher road without Moss because you need your quarterbacks to kind of take over. I think the other thing too is everybody who picked Penn State should listen to me more often. I said Ohio State, just for the record.
no, you didn't. You said Penn State.
No, no, no way.
Yep.
No, never mind. We're all stupid. We're all stupid.
Yeah. Yep. Because uh, Jerry was like, oh, I know Peter's going to pick Ohio State before you came in the call. So he was like, I'm just going to say, Jerry or Peter, I am disagreeing with you. I'm going to take Penn State, and went on his rant. I was the only one that picked Ohio State. I don't know who said it in the group chat, but they were like, yo, Penn State's frauds. It might have been Christian, but I think 100%
Yeah.
right. Although it was a great football game, so they still deserve to be where they are because they did play Ohio State pretty well.
What I think is
But
funny is I don't think Ohio State's that great of a team either. Like, so I just find that ironic. The one thing with Penn State, with them and Ohio State, is Ohio State just owns them. I think they've won almost 10 matchups in a row. So it's like, it's bad.
yeah, I'm almost certain Penn State's going to be in the playoffs. So I think it is what it is with them. Because I don't know the rest of their season, but I imagine that they'll cruise their way in. But yeah, that puts you at 5-5 on moral locks. Jerry sitting at 7-3, and me at 6-4. So I'm catching up,
Yeah.
but Jerry's cooking with all of his random picks. I like to pick
I'm,
popular games myself.
yeah, I always go for the high stakes ones. I think they're more fun. I'm looking at schedules. Penn State will make it to the playoff. They play no one.
Yeah, that's what I
Um,
figured.
Ohio State has to beat Indiana. So I think either Indiana gets in or Ohio State gets in. I don't think they both do. Just because it's like I think Indiana's going to win. So if they win, I think Ohio State drops out because they can't go to the Big 10 championship and they have two losses.
God, I
Um
mean, yeah, it's either that or we're breaking history this year because we have 12 playoff slots instead of like 4.
yeah.
Because I would agree with you. Like, yeah, if you don't have any throne to sit on, you don't get to be in the playoffs. But man, we're talking about 12 slots right now. It's like,
Yeah.
I think they're gonna let a couple of stragglers in like that.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's gonna be like a half and half. People that deserve to be in it based on their record, and other people that they just have to have.
Yeah, I think they if Ohio State loses and Indiana wins the Big 10 championship, what's going to be interesting is I think they can either put Ohio State in or Alabama because they're trying to find an excuse to put one, if not both, in.
Yeah.
But if they both end the season with two losses and no conference championship, it's like I don't think you can argue for both.
Right. So I mean, we're gonna find out for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into a couple of games. We got 3 picked out. We'll start with Jerry's first. But we got Texas State at UL Monroe. Texas State projected to win on the road 7.5. Jerry, I'm going to plug you in right now.
What up, y'all? Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to jump on the call like normal because I am at the beach. It looks a little crappy right now, but who gives a crap? So, my prediction for the ULM versus Texas State game. I mean, Texas State is not a great team this year. They've had some flashes of success, but not as consistent as General Booty. And yeah, Texas State's defense matches up pretty well against Louisiana Monroe, but I firmly believe General Booty is going to rock the world, and they are going to perform extremely well, especially up in Monroe. And ULM is really good against the spread. I think 7 points is way too generous for Texas State, and that's going to be quite a bit to overcome. So give me ULM to cover the spread. Not necessarily win, but that should be it. Anywho, thank y'all for letting me jump in, and don't miss me too much. Peace.
Fantastic. Okay, this game, man. UL Monroe is a top covering team right now, which is why I suspect he picks this game. I think he's going to say that Texas State is too many points. I think it'll be close, but UL Monroe is playing the subpar teams real tight, real close. So yeah, I'll take UL Monroe just because they're 6-2 against the spread.
Yeah, give me Monroe just because like I'm looking. Besides when they lost to whoever USA is, they play teams really close, so I expect them to cover. I also have no faith in Texas State. Like, who goes to Texas State to play sports?
Yeah, they had that. They had one season. I don't know if it was last year or the year prior, but they just had like the wildest season possible. And they paid a lot of good money that following year to get like a good foundation, a good program going, and nothing happened. So that's, tough.
Yep. They just need to stick to partying. That's what they're good at.
Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. Had to fix some audio. All right, next game is ranked 3 Georgia at ranked 16 Ole Miss. Georgia projected to win by 2.5. Now, what I gotta say about this game is we can talk about stats all day long. Ole Miss has been a way better covering team, covering 6 games so far. So 6-3. Georgia's not a good covering team. If I had to really pick this game, I would take the under because both of these teams love to shoot for the under. And 54.5 seems a little too high right now, but I expect that number to go down to like 54 by the end of the week. This is a season of good underdogs beating good teams. So like you see whoever's like at the top, if there's someone that's better, they'll get dethroned, kind of like Texas playing Georgia. Georgia's like, hey, it's time for us to dethrone you. Vanderbilt being a good team dethrones another good team, and I think that we're going to see something like this at this game, is Ole Miss being a good team that's going to dethrone Georgia. I have Ole Miss through my research and what I've done. I got Ole Miss winning this game. So 100% give me Ole Miss to win this game outright based on just trends of big teams being dethroned. Just how it works.
I actually agree, but for different reasons. So I think Ole Miss is going to win outright, not just cover. I think they're going to win for 2 things. One, it's at Ole Miss, and one thing that Georgia has shown is they're just inconsistent. And I think Ole Miss is coming off a historic win. Like, you scoring 63 points against Arkansas. It's like you have momentum, and Georgia's coming off barely beating a bad Florida team. So I actually think this game is going to go over 54.5.
Damn.
Just because I think Ole Miss is just, their offense is just flying high, and it's going to be a shootout. And I think that's how Georgia loses. It's not in a low scoring game. I don't think Josh Beck can keep up. I think he's a bad quarterback on a good team. Like, every time I watch Georgia play, the worst thing about him is his throwing ability. He's late on receivers. It's just like when they lost to Alabama, he was even open receivers he was hitting was like 3-4 yards short. So I think Ole Miss is going to handle Georgia and again make the SEC even more complicated. Um, so give me Ole Miss, and it's a night game at Ole Miss, which I don't
Yeah,
think is
home
a
advantage.
super easy play. Yeah,
I don't disagree with that one bit. One bit. All right, we got one more game we're going to talk about. I would argue probably the first biggest game of the week. The Georgia game is probably second. But right now we're going to talk about ranked 11 Alabama at ranked 14 LSU. Alabama projected to win 2.5 on the road. Peter, give it to me.
yeah. So I think that this is going to be an easy win for LSU. So it's at home. I think LSU. It's going to be a night game, so Jerry will be like hardest place to win, but it's really not. The scariest thing about LSU is getting mugged by their fans. Um, but I think this Alabama team is not. Obviously, it's not team like Alabama teams of the past. They don't do well in tight games. I think this is going to be a tighter game with a lot of pressure. Um, I just think LSU is a more talented team, but I think Bama's going to struggle with LSU's run game. Now, they do have Brian Kelly, and that can shoot yourself in the foot so many games. Um, but not only does Bama not really cover, yeah, neither does LSU really. But I just think being at home, I think this is going to be the last loss for Alabama until they're like ranked number 20. Um, so give me LSU.
I think this is just basically like I said in the last game that we talked about with Ole Miss and Georgia, where LSU is going to dethrone a quote unquote good team. Um, I think that that's like a huge possibility. I think they'll win this game as well. That's why I think it's like the season of upsets, man. It's just all these what we deemed as good top 5 teams are just getting dethroned left and right,
Mhm.
and getting exposed as frauds. Alabama being one. LSU's offense, man, Fugazi, but you could say the same thing about Alabama's defense right now.
Yeah,
Um,
and offense, like it's
yeah,
it's so confusing with Milrow. It's like there's sometimes he looks good, other times it's like, how are you starting?
yeah, read my mind. Read my mind. They look questionable. Like they look like a Alabama team, like they've always has been. And then you'll look at a play where you're like, I don't know how this is a program in the first place. Y'all guys are garbage.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know. They're not as fluid as they should be, but LSU, they're kind of doing the same thing as we were, is like who was pushing the ball down the hill faster to kind of get a
Mhm.
good, fluid program going. LSU seem to have taken the reins on that since we've lost. So I think LSU would be ahead. So yeah, I mean, give me LSU to take down Alabama.
Are both these teams coming off a bye week? It looks
Uh,
like it, yeah.
October 26th, October 26th. Yeah, damn.
So that's weird. So that'll be interesting to see how they've prepared for each other. But when I looked at Alabama's previous games, but take Mizzou out of it because Mizzou's just a bad team with their starting QB gone. Um, but like see Bama, and it's like they lost by 7, they won by 2 to South Carolina, they won by 5 to Vanderbilt. So it's just like, no, sorry, they lost by 5 to Vanderbilt. So it's like I just look at these and I'm like, you're not blowing teams out. Like Tennessee is a good team. South Carolina depending on how they show up. They can be a good team, a meh team. Like and Vanderbilt's bad. Like I get it. They've won a couple games. They're
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, yeah.
So unless Brian Kelly really shoots himself in the foot again, I think Alabama gets their 3rd loss. I wonder if the last time they got 3 losses in a season. But I'm looking at the rankings. In theory, if Alabama gets a 3rd loss, they should fall below 22.
Should. But they're Alabama. We're SEC, baby.
Yeah,
I
the
think
committee
you
is a
should
hard
like
one
cut
for
that prediction in half
them.
just because
Yeah,
they're Alabama.
that's what I'm like. I think they'll be the high teens if they lose.
All right, we're gonna play a game with this top 25 here. All right,
Let's do it.
I'm gonna give you a category and you're gonna pick the team. All right,
Okay.
best team in the top 25.
Best team in the top 25?
Yes,
I think Oregon right now. I think they're actually the number one team.
I agree. I think Oregon is number one. They're playing like they're number one. I think they would have no
Hmm.
problem in the playoffs right now if we were to do it tomorrow. Okay, top fraud team in the top 25.
Top fraud team, Ohio State. No business being number two. You put them
Agreed.
at
If we're
you put them
talking,
at like
go ahead.
10 to 12, I'd be like, fine, put them at 10 to 12. Number two, no. You don't barely beat Nebraska at home and say, oh, we're the number two team in the country.
Yeah, I would say Ohio State because of how high they are, but my next category would I'm going to pick Ohio State. If I want to talk top fraud, I would
Hmm.
say Missouri in the top 25 right now.
Yeah.
Missouri is the top fraud team where they were steamrolling the easiest teams. Everybody put them on a pedestal in the top
Hmm.
five for the longest time. And then, boom, just like straight downhill. So I
Yep.
think they're the top fraud team. Now, the second question, the third category would be most undeserving team in the top 10.
Undeserving?
Yes. Oh, I guess I wouldn't pick Ohio State on this either.
Undeserving? Well, I go between Penn State and I want to say Miami just because I don't know who Miami's played, but it's like they're undefeated. So like I can't say you can't belong there.
Right.
Like in the top 10. But right now for me it's Penn State followed by Tennessee and then BYU.
Give me Notre Dame, top undeserving team in the top 10.
My thing is they're number
Screw
10, so
y'all.
I'm like number 10, I'm like, okay, I can leave Notre Dame
Nah,
there.
they need to be in 13 on the dot, just out of it, as they should be forever. But yeah, I would follow that up with, man, honestly, yeah, I'd probably say Tennessee too, in top 10 anyways. Okay,
Yeah.
now most undeserving team in the top 25.
In the undeserving team in the top 25, Colorado. Get them out.
I
Why are
was,
they
dude, I
there?
was gonna say the
Like
same thing. Same thing. They're trying to create a narrative and a story out of
I
their
know.
6-2 season, and I'm like, y'all guys still ain't that good. You're cakewalking right
Yeah.
now.
Like you take out Sanders, not Shadur, because Shadur sucks. He only gets like hyped because of his dad. It's like Hunter is the best team on that player. So it's just like, besides the names, I don't know who do they play. Like it's just everything about it. I'm like, get out.
Yeah, they're just playing in a different B league than everybody else is, and they
They,
think that they deserve
yeah,
to be in that arena, but they're not.
yeah.
Okay, and then the last one, I would say a top 25 team that deserves to be in the playoffs.
I think Indiana. Or does it have to be outside the 12 right now?
Do outside. No,
Outside
yeah,
the
you can do
12?
inside and do outside. But yeah, I
Okay.
do agree with the
Inside,
inside.
yeah, inside Indiana for me. I think they should be a top 6 team. If they win out, I think they should be number 1 or number 2 because that means they'd have to beat Oregon. Um, but outside, deserving, hmm. Honestly, depending how this week goes, I'm stuck between 2. I'm stuck between Ole Miss and A&M. The reason why A&M I'm like, is because Moss got hurt. With Moss in, I'm like, put A&M in. I think they could be a wild card team. But if Ole Miss has momentum, I would love to see just what kind of run they can go on.
Yeah. Yeah, with A&M, they kind of did the same thing that shot Texas in the foot, was playing with quarterbacks just
Yep,
back to back,
100%.
back to back, where we couldn't develop as fluid of a team as we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And if A&M can get that together, like now, then yeah, man, A&M could be in the conversation, and I do think that they could be deserving of it if they could get that together. But I would take Ole Miss as my number one pick that deserves to be in the playoffs. They play well. Their
Right.
losses aren't bad. At least I don't think so. I say
For
that
me
now.
too. Yeah, let's see. LSU and Kentucky. Kentucky's not a great loss, but Kentucky's been playing a lot of teams tough, so it's
Yeah,
not that bad. But it's like it's just because they're unranked that
yeah.
it looks bad.
Kentucky plays to their opponent. Weirdly enough.
Yeah, like very well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, so I would say like their losses aren't bad. I do think that Ole Miss deserves to be in the top 12 right now. For sure,
Yeah.
Indiana, duh, that's a given. If we're talking
Hmm.
inside, like they deserve it through and through.
Yeah.
Okay, any last thoughts?
I just want to say Navy, I think, has been proven they're a fraud because everyone's saying like, "Oh, look at Navy, look at this," and the having the opportunity to go Navy Army before and then after is just blown out of the water now. Like before
Yeah,
the conference championship thing.
yeah, I wish that could have happened. I mean, props to
Yeah.
Army for hanging on to an 8-0 right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insanity. Now I think about it. Oh, they must have had a bye week early because like they're the only team that I know of that's 8-0 and not 9-0.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess so. Huh. Well, cool. Great. Well, with that being said, Peter, thank you for joining me on this fine afternoon. Uh,
Always.
Once again, everybody, picks are due Saturday, November 9th at 11 a.m. And first game is Thursday, November 7th at 7 p.m. Congratulations to Trump. Shout out. Let's have ourselves a affordable tax year. Low inflation. Let's get them, baby. Let's get them. Let's knock them out. All right. Y'all guys have a great week. Let's have a week. Have a great week picking. And once again, happy picking.